All right, how's it going, guys? Thank you for tuning in to VR Revelations. Welcome. Please make sure you give this video a like and make sure you subscribe for future content. So it is the year of our Lord 2024, August 1st. And let's jump right into it. It looks like Ukraine is looking to attack the Crimean bridge once again. If you don't know, Ukraine has already carried out two previous attacks on this bridge, which connects Russia with the Crimean Peninsula, of course. So here is the map, just for those of you that don't really know this part of the world here. Here's Ukraine. This is all of Russia up here and down here. And here is Crimea. Of course, this is part of Russian territory, which they did, annex. And of course, the U.S. and Ukraine don't recognize that. They claim that it still belongs to Ukraine, even though the majority of the population here are ethnic Russians, and they actually voted to be part of Russia, right? But of course, the U.S., who backs Ukraine, who pretty much controls Ukraine right now, are not going to recognize anything that Russia does or that the Russian people, in this case in Ukraine, vote for, right? Because it's a war of interest. That's what's really going on here between the U.S. and between Russia. You really don't have to get into the details. You can just generalize the situation, and that's really what's going on here, right? Two empires fighting for control of territories to have more strategic advantages. And of course, Russia is in control of Crimea here. Ukraine has pretty much vowed to take that back. Again, back in 2022, when this war started in Ukraine, Ukraine did attack the bridge, which you can see it's located here. I believe Russia constructed this bridge, and it's one of the longest in Europe, if not the longest bridge in Europe. And the reason they did this is because it allows them to carry out supplies into Crimea. And of course, it's also a symbol of the ties, right, of the ownership of Russia, which Russia has over Crimea. Yes, Ukraine carried out an attack in 2022 on the bridge, if you remember, with a truck bomb, right, that I believe hit an oil tanker that was also driving on the bridge. And it was pretty impactful. It did, a lot of damage, but Russia was able to repair the bridge within a couple of months. And then I believe later on in 2023, Ukraine again carried out an attack via two naval drones, I believe, that they launched at the bridge. So they're trying to sever the connection between Russia and Crimea in order to stop the flow of supplies there, of course. Now, Russia does control the sea with its submarines, but the bridge definitely allows them to carry supplies, further up north over here into Ukrainian territory where Russia has control, right? So it's definitely a strategic point, and it's very symbolic. That's why Ukraine keeps on trying to destroy the bridge there. And so we have an article here from RT News. So let's go ahead and read. It says, Ukraine issues new Crimean bridge threat. Kyiv says work is underway to destroy the strategic Russian link by the end of the year. It says Kyiv is working on plans to destroy Russia's Crimean bridge within the next few months or by the end of the year, the head of Ukraine's main intelligence directorate, Kirill Budanov, said during a national telethon on Friday. So Ukrainian officials are saying this, right? They're not they're not being secretive about this at all. And of course, they've already attacked it, so it's no surprise, even though they haven't really been successful there. By the way, I do think Russia was able to take down the latter attack with the 2 naval drones. I think they were able to repel that. But the article continues here. The comment was made in reply to a journalist's question about whether the crucial link between the Crimean Peninsula and mainland Russia can be destroyed in the near future. So the reporter there is obviously a puppet of the Western propaganda machine. Kyiv is currently working hard on plans, including long-range strikes, to make it happen, he said, adding that a comprehensive approach is required. The journalist explained that by the near future, she meant the next few months or by the end of 2024, to which Budanov replied, I would like that too. So really, these aren't journalists. They're just part of the planning, it looks like. If you look at the near future that way, there are chances, he said. Senior officials, including Ukrainian leader Vladimir Zelensky, have justified the country's repeated attempts to destroy the bridge between the Crimean Peninsula and Krasnodar region, claiming it has significant logistical value for the Russian military. The bridge was completed in 2020. Crimea voted in a referendum to join Russia in 2014, following the U.S.-backed coup in Kyiv earlier that same year. Since the escalation of the Ukraine conflict in 2022, Kyiv has made a number of attempts to destroy the bridge, including the use of Western-supplied long-range missiles, naval drones packed with explosives, as well as explosives smuggled in vehicles. Despite numerous attempts, the bridge has only been damaged twice, with several people killed on both occasions. In May, 10 U.S. provided ATACMS missiles on a trajectory toward the Crimean bridge were shot down, the Russian Defense Ministry reported. Moscow has condemned the deliveries of Western weapons to Kyiv, warning that they only prolong the conflict while making Western countries party to the conflict. Russian officials have also suggested that Kyiv escalated its sabotage and bombing campaigns due to its battlefield failures. In April, Russian President Vladimir Putin said that amid frontline setbacks, Kyiv is reporting to attempts to incur and seize border territories, strikes against peaceful areas, including with multiple launch rocket systems, attacks on energy infrastructure, attempted missile strikes on the Crimean bridge and the peninsula itself. So pretty much since Ukraine is not having any success on the battlefield, they're sort of attempting to carry out these isolated attacks in different parts, right? Sort of these terrorist tactics, right? So we have another article here from yesterday. Ukraine may be timing Crimean bridge threats with U.S. election. We know that Donald Trump has said he's looking to, end the war right in Ukraine as soon as he gets into office. Although I don't believe, Trump, even if he actually wants to, from his heart, look for a way to end this conflict, it's out of his hands. The presidents really are not the ones that make those decisions. Of course, it's the shadow government, it's the military-industrial complex, it's these major corporations, right, that fund the politicians. They are the ones that are calling the shots. And these corporations, the military-industrial complex, they hate Russia because Russia opposes the American culture, right? As I've said before, this is a spiritual war that is taking place. Russia, they're more traditional, right? They uphold Christian values. Vladimir Putin, has quoted the Bible multiple times. He's highlighted the differences between the cultures, how Russia is against the LGBT agenda, which, the U.S. pushes as it has become a modern Sodom and Gomorrah, even though it likes to hide behind the facade of, being a Christian country. as it was originally founded, right? But the U.S. has long lost its way, and if it would be up to them, they would have, all of that pushed throughout the world. But God is not going to allow that. As I've mentioned previously, God is using Russia as an instrument to bring about the end times prophecies, right? Just as God used the Babylonians, the Assyrians to punish Israel, right? God's chosen people in the Old Testament. Every time Israel disobeyed God's word, disobeyed his commandments, every time that Israel went after pagan gods, after the sinful customs of the nations surrounding them, God's holiness called for judgment. And so he would punish the Israelites for their wickedness via other countries, right? With the Babylonian armies, with the Assyrians' armies. And God is the same God today. He is now dealing with the world as a whole, and of course with Israel as well, but he's going to punish the world via nuclear war, right? And he is using Russia as a rod of punishment, as a tool of judgment. Not that Russia itself is, is going to be spared, but the whole world is going to be judged. But God is using Russia right now, and that's why there is this spiritual divide between Russia, who all of a sudden started having this Christian movement within their country, right? Because the U.S. used to accuse, communist Russia of being godless, right? Of being against Christianity, of persecuting the churches. But now the roles have sort of turned around. Now Russia is standing up for Christian values, putting to shame the U.S., who back in the days was a Christian nation, right? Homosexuality was illegal in the U.S. at one point. They did used to read the Bible. They were modest, but now it's pretty much a modern Babylon, a modern Sodom and Gomorrah, right? So, they're trying to envelop the world with that wickedness, but God always rises up a standard, and right now it is Russia who he is using. Of course, that doesn't mean Russia will be spared. This time judgment is coming to the whole world. But that's why the U.S., the sanctions, this war they're trying to carry out has backfired catastrophically, right? And the Ukraine is just a victim of this, and that's why they're trying to carry out these attacks here on the bridge and things like that. But they're not working. They've lost the war. The U.S., as I've said before, the only thing they could do is to declare all-out war on Russia, and then we're talking about a nuclear conflict wherein no country wins. We're talking about end times prophecies being fulfilled, wherein the world is going to be purified by fire, right? But the U.S. is not willing to do that, right? And they know this. They're just trying to, carry out this war to the last Ukrainian. I'm sure if it was up to the Ukrainians, they would end the war right now, but it's not up to them. It's not even up to Zelensky. It's up to the United States, and the fact that Zelensky is allowing that is absolutely shameful. Thousands have died, sons, daughters, mothers, fathers, all to try and push this Sodomic agenda that the U.S. is trying to push throughout the world, which is not going to work. God is not allowing that. So the U.S. is now being faced with the consequences, the catastrophic consequences of their decisions here, because of their own high-headedness, because of their own stubbornness, because of their own arrogance. But again, this is all part of the biblical prophecy, right? Wherein the U.S. Is sort of causing its own political collapse and economic collapse, but that's also going to pave the way for more prophecies to be fulfilled, which I will speak on later, right? But Donald Trump, he's just a pawn in this game, right? Of course, he has influence, but he's not going to be able to stop this. They'd assassinate him. They're already trying to assassinate him. So if you think the military-industrial complex, if you think the shadow government and these major corporations that are paying the bills are going to allow him to stop this war, it's not going to happen. On top of that, this must take place. This tension between Russia and the West, it's spiritual in nature. So it's Donald Trump's not going to be able to do anything. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if we do see this attack. As I covered in the previous video, the U.S., the Western countries have provided F-16s to Ukraine, which they could be looking to use to carry out strikes on the bridge, in which case, they could cause major damage, which could cause, a major escalation, as, Vladimir Putin, as Russia had already warned against sending these fighter jets to Ukraine. But as the elections near, as, Zelensky fears Donald Trump possibly getting into office and, having that mindset of ending the war, they might look to carry out attacks in such a way that will force, whoever wins into a continuation of this support for Ukraine or a possible escalation. But again, I think it's all going to backfire. So we'll definitely have to keep an eye out on this. Let me know your comments down below in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts. And make sure you give the video a like. Make sure you subscribe for notifications on future videos. And remember, the truth is stranger than fiction. God bless you all and have a wonderful day.